Welcome back to Cheddar's opening bell. Well, retail giants like JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, and J. Crew have buckled in the face of the coronavirus. But some big scale retailers, especially those in China, have been able to survive largely because of a swift pivot away from in store sales and operations. And joining us now from Hong Kong is Howard Yu. He's a professor of management and innovation at IMD Business School. Howard, it's great to have you with us. Before we start and dive deep into your specialty, the retail sector here, we have been covering this morning the mounting tensions in Hong Kong as China looks to implement new national security measures, stripping some of the power away or autonomy from Hong Kong itself. What is it like on the ground there?
So in Hong Kong, what we're seeing is the economy begins to opening up again. So over the last few weeks, we basically see only single digit in terms of new infection of the coronavirus outbreak. And so you begins to see restaurant and cinema begins to slowly open up. So restaurant are now allowing 6 to 8 people sitting around a table. Several weeks ago, it was only 2 people with makeshift partition. So with the controlling of the virus, we begins to see the economy begins to open up. Right now, all eyes are on whether there would be second wave of infection going forward. So I think it would be a key indicator for people in Europe or US to look at as we are beginning to open up. Would that lead to a second wave? Hopefully it won't. Certainly, it's because of this pandemic I was forced to come to Hong Kong. Otherwise, I would still be in Switzerland right now.
So, I know usually you do join us from Switzerland, Howard, but since you're based in Hong Kong, I mean, the rising tensions that we've seen just overnight between Hong Kong and China with the Hong Kong stock market down 5%. What are the risks there? Does it feel as if it's a contentious environment right now and that tensions are boiling perhaps even under the surface? I know that you're probably maybe not out and about as much as you normally would be, but what's the sense?
No, because the sentiment is this massive discontent, and it is not a newly developed situation. Because for a long time, Hong Kong, if you're looking at the property price, is the world highest. As a result, a lot of people living condition has been really bad. So it has always been a mixture between politics, economic as well. And in many ways, the current pandemic simply putting on third of a complication on top. So despite the city has been able to contain the virus outbreak, but if you're looking at survey after survey in Hong Kong, people discontent continue to be at all-time high.
Okay, so let's take a turn now back to the retail sector. That was helpful, Howard. We have seen some of these really big companies topple in the wake of the pandemic with bankruptcies filed by J. Crew and Neiman Marcus. Some, though, have successfully pivoted their brick and mortar operations online to e-commerce. Walk us through the ways that technology has helped with this transition.
This is really interesting, right? Although what we're seeing right now is the great divide between the have and the have not. So from Macy's to J. Crew to JCPenney, they're all struggling, and some of these are filing bankruptcy in a very big way. But at the same time, Walmart just came up with the earning announcement, and we see they are quite capable of generating both revenue as well as profit at the same time. So it's not just brick and mortar store are all doomed. No, it's not. But if you are able to invest digitization early, then you're actually able to reap the benefit right now. If anything, this pandemic is simply accelerate some of the current trend that we see. Now, the really interesting story here becomes, if you're a brick and mortar store, if you're medium size, how can you confront with this challenge? If you're not as big as Walmart and can repurpose all your distribution network to serve that online, omni-channel strategy, what can you do about that? And from that angle, China does provide ample examples for other retailer as key lesson learned going forward.
So let's talk about some of these smaller scale companies. We know that it's been challenging for smaller businesses, Howard, but does this provide any advantage to the smaller scale companies, the pivot that we've seen from brick and mortar to e-commerce and the technology that has assisted in that?
Absolutely. So in my class, working with top leader executive around the world, what we're seeing is there are these medium size, like say 1 billion US dollar revenue per year I'll give you a very concrete example in Beijing. There's a company called Peace Bird. So their historic business model is very much driven by brick and mortar store. They are operating 4,000 retail stores around the country. And during February, for instance, when Wuhan is facing major lockdown, of course, nobody can even visit into their store. So what they have done is literally overnight. Here, speed is so critical. Literally overnight, they convert their entire sales strategy online. Not just that, they embrace online streaming, event online in a very big way. In essence, they convert almost single-handedly all their sales associate into online influencer, live stream stars, not just asking them to do it on the side, but this is their full-time job. Providing on top of that is corporate training along the side. So we see there are ways to address such challenge as well.
Okay, quickly, Howard, before we have to let you go, learning opportunities. All of us from personal to professional angles of our lives are looking at this opportunity here that has existed in the pandemic as a learning opportunity. What are opportunities or lessons that businesses should take away from this?
So I wrote a piece on quartz and really arguing whatever innovation coming out from this pandemic is going to stay with us for a very, very long time. Once consumer experience shopping online can be so good, they're not going to go back to the brick and mortar store. In my world, a lot of the executives are now using Zoom for major conferences, annual sales conference, or employee recognition, and they're not going to go back to the old days right away. So whatever things that we are experimenting right now, we need to keep in mind this is going to stay with us, whether it's change of habit or even business model shift.
All right, Howard, we got to leave it there. He's a professor of management and innovation at IMD Business School. Howard, thanks so much.